Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to ManageEngine's webinar on building an AI-powered IT infrastructure. So today we'll be talking about how AI is helping the IT domain and where we are at the AI adaptation in IT. So about me, I'm Ram Prakash. I own the AI efforts at ManageEngine. We at ManageEngine have a lot of tools that could enhance your IT infrastructure, and so we have been adding AI to our product suite, and today we'll walk you through all ways to implement AI in your IT infrastructure. So you would have heard this term artificial intelligence everywhere. It is all over the press, it is all over the media, and they say this is going to change the world. But in today's webinar, we'll be taking a very level-headed approach how to use artificial intelligence in your day-to-day IT management. The idea of artificial intelligence is very, very simple. You just have loads of past data that reside in your system. You use these data points to make actionable items in the near future. Basically, it is all about predicting the future. It could be predicting outages, it could be predicting asset requests for your IT system, it could be predicting a load on a particular given day, it could be forecasting your revenue, it could be anything. But the idea is simple. You just have a lot of past data and then you use that to predict your future data points. This is how artificial intelligence can be quoted in a nutshell. But still, there is a lot of hype around artificial intelligence. Let us see how that goes. Right. Artificial intelligence has been known to the world in the name of statistics from so long. Statistics is the person who tells a joke, and AI is the person who's going to tell it louder. So this is a standard thing about AI where the kind of recent attention it is getting these days. It is because of two things. One is we have been able to generate lot of data points in the recent past, and we have also been improving our computing capabilities to process all of these data points. So that is why the term artificial intelligence is getting a lot of hype. We are still in the process of artificial narrow intelligence. We are slowly venturing towards artificial general intelligence. By that I mean, in an artificial narrow intelligence system, if you have an outage prediction engine, it can only predict outages. It cannot be able to predict loads. If you have something that could detect an intruder in your firewall, then it cannot predict outages. So this is where artificial narrow intelligence and artificial general intelligence differs. We are kind of getting better at our artificial narrow intelligence systems and slowly inching towards the general intelligence paradigm. So here is a stat that says 65% of organizations in Europe will have at least one AI function in their process by 2020. This is from a research report by Microsoft and EY. Now, you understand the heat, right? So artificial intelligence has almost reached our homes through our phones, through our smart devices, right from ACs to washing machines to speakers and all that. And the enterprise is also slowly catching up. Not slowly, but really fast. They're catching up like really fast, and you see that in almost 1 year, almost 65% of the organizations would have at least one AI function in their process. So that's how important it is. But still, if you look at the AI technology at large, so there has been a lot of media attention and press coverage about AI, but the standalone AI really translate to commercial value. So this goes back to a very old term, snake oil. So snake oil is a very hyped solution that is supposed to be advertised as the problem to, as the solution to all of your problems. But its effects are really not proven. I think we are still at that stage in AI, especially when it comes to standalone AI. So here is the solution. It is always AI plus the service you offer. It is not just AI. Let's say you have been doing SIEM, you have been doing service delivery. It is AI on top of your service delivery or AI on top of your SIEM that is the real value bringer, not just AI. There have been a lot of instances where AI is the next big thing, but you just have to do whatever you have been doing in a really good fashion and then slap on AI to it. AI could become a standard feature in almost all of the products that would be sold commercially in the next 5 to 6 years. So think about it. It is always AI slapped onto a service than a standalone AI. And you'll also have to see that AI will have to be retrofit into everyday workflows. By that, I mean you have a workflow today that happens without the AI's intrusion. But now, when AI is going to start making predictions, you'll have to make sure you have room for the AI and the decisions it makes. Let's go a bit deeper into that. So now, looking at AI from a producer angle is in, let's say, somebody who is building products for IT management, or somebody who creates solution for IT management. It could be even somebody who just mix matches two or three solutions from different vendors and brings in an in-house tool for IT management. So the idea is very simple. So far, product management has always been cared about. Let's say you write code. Product management has always been caring about writing reusable code, making it extendable, making it insulated to future changes, and a lot of other things, the technical depth you generate, and so on. But really, from now onwards, it has become a part of the product management's job role to make sure what all products what all data points the product is going to generate. So it is going to become a very important parameter in product management, monitoring all the parameters your product is going to generate, so that that can be used in the future for analytics and building intelligence on top of your products. And there has also been a lot of new job designations, like annotating data, making so there has been a lot of incentive to create new data and sell it in a marketplace. The data marketplace is an in thing right now in 2019, and there's been a lot of job designations that go around data solutions, cleaning data, making sure the data is fitting to all the AI models you have. There's a big market around it. Now, coming to the consumer angle, the consumer angle has been very straightforward. Think of AI as somebody in your team. It is going to be an additional person in your team. Let's say you have a workflow when you identify an outage. Okay, so typically the network team is involved, the product team is involved, the asset team is involved in case you want to provision more servers. But now there is also an element of IT to it. If AI is going to be the person who is going to be suggesting that there is going to be an outage, now how do you factor as a person in his team? That has to be imbibed in your everyday workflows. So typically an SIEM product could be like 5 6 years old. You've been using 5 6 year old without the team member AI, but now things are going to change. Also, there has been more awareness than ever about the kind of data we generate and the people who have access to this data. There's been a lot of regulatory compliances where privacy and other data protection rules kick in. So it is very important to stay on top of all of these data privacy and other factors. So given this is a boon to AI because we have been generating a lot of data, and more data, then AI is very happy and more powerful to your needs. And so there has also been regulations like GDPR, where you're slapped a hefty price tag when you break the GDPR compliance. But then the kind of impact your reputation takes because of you breaching GDPR is going to be really high. It totally brings down your future prospects. So organizations have started to be really careful on the kind of data they generate and the people who have access to it. So now let us take a deeper look into AI in enterprises and SMBs. AI is already influencing your life in some form. It could be your smartphone, it could be your speaker, it could be your friend networks friend recommendations on a social network, it could be a book recommendations on your e-commerce site. It is somehow you have at least used AI in one form of the other. But where does AI come into enterprises and SMBs? Enterprises traditionally have data that lies between closed walls. Now, let's say you have a search engine company A and an e-commerce company B. Search engine company A knows 100 data points about you, whereas e-commerce company B knows only 50 data points about you. This clearly means that the search engine company has a huge AI advantage over the e-commerce company B. But now enterprises are a different ball game. There is no way you can compare enterprise data between two enterprises and two vendors because it is all lying between closed walls. And SMBs, coming to SMBs are still generating much lower quantum of data, unlike the social networking companies or the search engine companies where they have huge quantum of information. So we are still in a low data space where AI is always known to be operating in the higher data space, but the kind of data we generate in enterprises and SMBs is still a bit low for the AI industry. So before we get into the slide, we have a poll that is coming up. Which stage of AI are you currently in? So thank you very much for voting on the poll. So a Gardner stat says by 2023, 40% of I&O teams will use AI augmented automation in enterprises, resulting in higher IT productivity. So now you look at it, AI has already reached to you in the form of consumer tech. AI has a 65% chance in the next 1 year to come into any of your process management, and AI has a 40% chance to come into your IT productivity. So productivity and AI always go hand in hand. There is a lot of processes that can get into your IT productivity and help you improve it. So the IT world has slowly been moving from process automation to decision automation with the help of AI. Now think about it. It has been process automation for the last 4 or 5 years where all of your processes are managed, but now is the time where the decision that is being taken at the end of process management is also going to be automated. Now this is a boon as well and a bane as well. So now let's see why is that. Now let's say your decisions are going to be automated, right? An AI is going to take a decision in the place of a human, or it's going to augment a decision which has been previously taken by a bunch of humans, and AI is also going to put a vote in it, right? When it is this case, your explanations are going to be the key. Let us see what that is. Here in this case, the entire team acts on a particular decision as opposed to just one person acting on a decision. Now let's say there is an AI engine that recommends a book, right? One wrong recommendation and it is okay. You just still continue to use the same e-commerce site, and it is just going to be acted by you. There is a friend recommendation for you on a social network. You're the sole guy who is going to take a decision that if you're going to accept the friendship or not. But that is not the case in the IT world. There is always going to be a team that is going to act on a decision that is being automated or any decision that is being taken. Now go back to our same case where an AI is predicting an outage. So it probably involves 3 4 teams, and when something happens in the middle of the night, it is going to become even more difficult. Now when an AI takes a decision, it has to substantially validate why it took that decision. That is very important because that is when the AI can win the trust of the system. At ManageEngine, we have been seeing a lot of repeat users for the features where AI is given along with an explanation. Otherwise, people just tend to ignore AI in the long run. So, especially for the IT management space, any AI engine that comes should always be able to reason out its decision. Right? So we're talking about mission reasoning over mission intelligence. Mission intelligence has always been there traditionally. It has always been a set of rules where you configure thresholds, you set periodic alerts. There has been a lot of ways in which you can statistically configure mission intelligence. But you just need some configuring. But now it has to be mission reasoning because an AI is able to take decisions, and without reasons, nobody is going to trust it like any other human. So at ManageEngine, all of our AI feature comes with an explanation engine. We have seen the usage go up dramatically when the AI decision is supported by an explanation. So for the technically inclined, we have also open sourced our explainer engine, which is totally free to use. It is under the Apache 2 license. You're also welcome to contribute. We use Apache Spark for our AI workloads on the cloud. So this is a explainer version that works in tandem with Apache Spark. So maybe if you're building AI on top of Apache Spark, please take a look and contributions welcome. Now let us get more deeper into our domain. Let us take a case of a typical enterprise IT infrastructure. Any IT infrastructure is going to have the three components: the security component, the monitoring component, and the service delivery component, right? And there are certain challenges that are unique to IT management. We started off with how the difference between consumer tech and enterprise tech, and then in the case of enterprise and SMB tech, how IT management is unique. In general, your IT management systems have a very low retention period, and that means very low amount of data for your AI engine. Now think about it. Let's say you have a finance system. Your finance system is going to store all the finance transactions from the start of time the system has been deployed. But that is not the case with the log management system, or that is not the case with the monitoring system. On an average, you just have 1 month of data retention period across all your IT systems. Now that means very low quantum of data, very less diverse data, which AI is not really known to work with. Now that is a challenge which we pose to AI in IT management, and we'll talk about how we have mitigated it. And then you also have comparatively fewer computing resources dedicated to IT management, right? So your server monitoring or your log collection is an already intensive process. Now adding a GPU to process AI on your log management is really not a thing which we can adapt to. So there is always like less computing power, so your AI has to do more with just less, both data and computing. And your IT is always very business critical. So think of it, your site has a 2-hour outage, and think of the kind of reputation loss and the monetary loss that is going to give it to you. An IT budget is generally very tight, unlike other budgets. So we'll have to operate in a shoestring budget. So now, how do we mitigate all these challenges in AI that are unique to IT, right? Like we discussed in detail before, your AI has always to be explanation ready so that all your existing IT management employees are convinced with the decision that AI is going to take. Or at least, in the worst case, to reason out saying that AI is wrong. It needs an explanation. Your AI for IT has always to be very low data ready. You have smaller retention period. And the next thing is you should always be proactive in predicting future outages, not just outages, but future requirements. It would be a waste of time and resources if your AI system is going to predict an outage after the outage has happened, right? Not cool, right? So your AI has to predict just by looking at the initial signals that this is going to lead to an outage or any particular event. And there is going to be a lot of noise in your IT data, especially when machines are going to generate the data. You would have configured a lot of alerts, and the alerts would have been like 4 or 5 years old as well. So there has been a lot of traditional configuration, and your AI should be able to separate the signals from real noise. And your AI should not be resistant to change. Let's say you're looking at logins into your system, and you have employees who come around the clock for various shifts. All of a sudden somebody is changing a shift, and your AI should not go berserk saying that this is a trap, right? Your AI should be very adaptive, and you might have offices across the globe. There could be weekends on Fridays, there could be weekends on Saturdays. Somebody could take their weekly off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Your AI should be readily able to adapt to all of the data shapes without you explicitly configuring anything. Now let us take a deeper dive into the security component, right? So the security component typically has a log management system, an insider threat analysis system, and user behavior analysis, which is the hottest in 2019. Maybe you should have read about it elsewhere. User behavior analysis is like really the in thing in 2019. And there is going to be a lot of alerts that come out of your security system. So you will have a system where your alert fatigue is managed. Now, let us talk about log management. You generally have high volumes of logs, and any new format of log that is going to come into your log management system, it is going to be very difficult to make sure your log engine is going to adapt to that new thing. Now, this is where AI can help, where it can understand from unsupported log formats. It can handle the volume. It can just pick out the numbers from your logs that flow in and plot it on a time series and then show it visually. There are a lot of things that AI can do in log management. There is also the user behavior and insider threat analysis, where there could be a malware that could be sitting in your employee's laptop, and today's workforce is always totally mobile. It is no longer just confined to your particular network. So there could be critical company assets on a hand device, on a mobile device, which could get stolen or which could get infected. Now any kind of malicious activity that happens in any of these devices, especially in the time of BYOD and all that, it has to be captured by the AI system and alerted, and alert the corresponding person. And the alert fatigue management, like I said before, there could be a lot of pre-configured alerts which are most likely tend to be ignored by the system. But if there is something really unnatural happening, then your AI should be able to separate the signal from noise. Now here is a screenshot from ManageEngine's user behavior analysis, where There is an unusual host startup, and if you look at the boxed space, you can see that the AI is able to explain why it has been flagged it as an unusual host startup, right? We were expecting that host startup to start at 6 to 7 p.m. only, but today it has happened at 8 to 9 a.m. So there could be a lot of data shapes which your AI can understand and proactively throw out alerts, right? Now let us move on from the security component to the monitoring component. Monitoring is definitely a critical part of any businesses. So you'll have to make sure your systems are always up and working. So for which there is a continuous monitoring system that is a critical component of your IT infrastructure. So when it comes to monitoring, you'll have to predict anomalies. So it could be simple in one word saying going to predict anomalies, but if you look at it, it has a lot of factors to it, right? There could be a seasonal element. There could be an increase or decrease uh, in your web traffic in case there is a season coming up, there is a festival coming up. Depends on the kind of business, your traffic either goes up or down. And let's say your business is growing at like 20% every quarter, and you should not be flagging that 20% rise every quarter as an anomaly, right? So there is a lot of seasonal element to it, and depending on the kind of business you do, weekends and weekdays do matter. So if something happens on weekdays, what is happening on a Monday morning 9 a.m. is not the same as what is happening on a Saturday morning 3 a.m., right? So without any explicit configuration, your AI should be able to predict all such anomalies. The next thing is there could also be a combinatorial anomaly where, let's say you're monitoring a particular CPU, right? So you monitor so many parameters like the CPU, the RAM, and the free disk space. So for the webinar sake, let us take you're just monitoring the three components, right? When CPU hits 99%, it clearly CPU is an anomaly. Same thing with RAM. When your free disk space goes to 5%, then clearly that is an anomaly. But there could be a case where your CPU goes to 70%, your RAM goes to 70%, and your free disk space comes to 20%. At an individual level, this is not an anomaly. But this could be a combination of combinatorial effect that could be caused on the system. Now, your AI should be able to capture which of the combination is causing an anomaly and also explain why it is causing it. Now let's say there is just a problem with your CPU and RAM. Your free disk space is still harmless, right? So your AI should be able to explain that it is a combination of these two factors that cause the anomaly, right? And your AI should be able to predict your outages beforehand. There could be a lot of alerts coming your way. There could be a lot of incidents that come your way, but would that translate to an outage is what is of interest to you, right? Now let us say an outage has happened. Your AI should be able to tell you the root cause of why this outage has happened based on the past outage episodes. So these are all the typical AI functions you can have in a monitoring setup. Now ManageEngine's monitoring product is called Site 24/7, and here you can see an anomaly dashboard from our product Site 24/7. Here we say the page load time has surged to so and so values, and we also tell them what the baseline value is. So you could see that in the boxed portion. So we expected around 25k milliseconds, but what we get is around 32k milliseconds. So now AI is able to reason what is the expected value, but this is the value. And you can also see on your screen where we also say the uh, confidence of that AI system in predicting. So one thing when we talk about AI, and an AI is on an average like 75 to 80% accurate. At ManageEngine, we see on an average 80% accuracy. So when this AI is going to give out a confirmed alert or a likely alert, so it tells about its confidence level of finding an anomaly. Right. So before we get to the next slide, we'll have a quick poll. Do you think conversational AI will have an impact in IT? So please poll in your answers. Well, that is clear. 95% of you think that conversational AI is really going to help. That is really interesting. So we have seen conversational AI come into lives in the form of digital assistants on your phone and in the form of speakers. And uh, so, I mean, the way the kids look at it today. So I had an incident where my kid started talking into the remote, asking for it to change channels. Now that is the kind of perception we have gotten with the conversational interface. So at ManageEngine, we have got a slew of conversational interfaces tagged to our products. Now here you can see how we have the conversational interface in our monitoring platform. So this is actually an integration with MS Teams, where you can just talk into your MS Teams asking for any down monitors, and your system is able to get the list of down monitors. Right. The next slide is even more interesting. You're asking for a root cause analysis of a recent incident in print server, right? And if you look at it, your Site 24/7 agent is also able to forward that ticket to your service delivery team, right? Can you see the box where it says raise a ticket in service desk plus on demand for the monitor print server? So that is how connected it is, and that is why your IT productivity is going to go up with AI coming in, right? And here is a slide where you just ask about performance details. Now this could be very easy and very simple for a CXO level person, where he could just quickly ask questions to the system and it is able to respond to it with all the stats. Unlike clicking a few buttons on the UI or having a mobile app, it is different versus navigating through difficult stuff. So that is how it works. And remember, we talked about implementing AI from a producer angle, where you really need to care about the kind of data points your product is going to generate. Now, this is going to be one such example. So this is where, especially in the case of on-premise products, right, we always have these cases where there is an unusual surge in the rise of requests and your disk has gotten overflown, right? So now with the help of AI, we should be able to avoid this. All of these are in-product analytics, where the product will be able to alert you that there is going to be a problem with your disk space, so you might need to do that very soon. Now we are looking at the service delivery component, right? So we looked at the security component, we looked at the monitoring component, and we are at the service delivery component. So now this is slightly different than security and monitoring. The reason being, in security and monitoring, most of the data is being generated by the machines. But on a service delivery platform, most of the data is human generated, right? So if you look at it, you will have a lot of email exchanges asking for assets, raising printer problems, and so on. So here, natural language processing is the real key, right? So there could be so many ways to raise an asset request in any organization. You could as well be filling a form which lands directly to your service delivery platform. Whereas in case you need it like real immediately and you're with limited access to your computer, you'll just send an email to a sysadmin and you expect it to be happening, right? So here somebody says, please give me a laptop. That has to be tagged as an asset request, while there is no explicit mention of asset request in the email, right? And that asset request should also look at how many assets you have in stock and what is the lead time for a particular asset. When do you make sure for the existing demand, when do you place an order for a new asset so that you get it delivered before you run out of inventory, right? So all of these come under the service delivery bandwagon. Now we'll have a quick poll. So we looked at three components: the security component, the monitoring component, and the service delivery component. Now we'll have a quick poll where you can tell me AI implementation in which of these areas will be most effective to you. Please poll in your responses. Well, that is interesting. So 50% of you want all of the above. So thank you for the poll. So these polls would help us, have better webinars and bring out better features in our products like really soon. Right. Now let us look at one unified case study. Right. Surprisingly, there's 50% of the people who have told that AI needs to come into all of these. Now let us imagine a real connected world. I mean, it is not imagination. We already have it in our products, but let us take a hypothetical case where your logs platform is going to detect a sudden spike in the web traffic due to a recently launched promotion. Promotion is so awesome that your web traffic is going beyond bounds, right? But it is good news for the company, but for the IT admin, well, let us see. The monitoring systems identify an anomaly and predict an outage based on the similar episodes in the past, right? Your monitoring system is very proactive. It says the last time your traffic bandwidth crossed this threshold, it led to an outage. So now make sure you don't make it happen this time. The monitoring systems also push data to the service delivery platform and assign a higher priority, right? Because the last time you solved this was by adding more servers to your production. So monitoring systems understand this and pushes this to a service delivery platform so that the right guys come in, right? So based on the past incident, your service delivery person calls the asset department and says you need to add more servers to production. Now that you have added the servers to production, it also recommends, it looks at your inventory and says, your lead time is generally 10 days. So you just have enough servers for 10 more days. So maybe this is the right time for you to raise an asset request. Very interesting, right? It started off with the security platform. It came in via monitoring, and then the process is automated via the service delivery platform. It is not just process automation, but it has been the decision automation where you've looked at the past episodes of anomalies and said this episode could lead to an outage, and you could probably solve it by adding more servers. And we didn't stop there, we went ahead and ordered more servers, right? So all of it with approval levels from the human, but when an AI is able to reason its explanations, that is where it gets interesting and really useful. So talking about AI at ManageEngine, we have been continuously rolling out AI features across our suite of products in the last 3 years. All of our AI products have been uh, really explanation ready right from day one. We have been doing a lot of tests, and we understand that explanation is going to be the real secret sauce of enterprise AI. We are working on full stack AI, right from time series analysis to natural language processing to computer vision techniques like barcode scanning, identifying an asset by just looking at the camera, taking a note of your inventory, and things like that. So we have been working across various AI techniques. The cool thing is that our AI is available both on-premise and cloud versions because they have been tweaked to work with low amounts of data and low amount of computing, which is the case with on-premises version. And we have a mix of homegrown proprietary tech and open source algorithms, like I said, which is specifically tuned to work in low data environments. We have also been contributing to open source when and wherever possible. That was the explanation engine which I shared with you before, and a lot of other contributions as well. Today, our cloud platforms serve about, they address about more than 1 million requests an hour. That is the kind of scale we operate in, especially inside 24/7 network monitoring. And it is not just the, so one thing about AI is there is a lot of AI you can find in the market where it is just the initial hype where, it is really cool, but how do you make AI work in long term? It is a very recent trend in AI research where they're making sure AI is going to work in the long term with the same amount of quality you tuned it for initially, right? So a lot of professional tooling has been built around these systems so that we make sure that your AI is relevant. Let's say your typical amount of login failures an hour was like 100, but then you have grown leaps and bounds. But now the typical, it could all just be incidental, it could be usual. The login failures per hour now shoots up to 1,000. Now, how do you make sure the AI model that was deployed for 100 login failures still stays relevant in the 1,000 login failures? So we have built a lot of proprietary tooling around the monitoring of AI systems so that we make sure they stay relevant after all your changes, right? So we have about 100-member team that is working across AI techniques, specializing in anomaly detection, forecasting, computer vision, and natural language processing. So that is all about me, and that is my email address. You can see there. I think we'll now open the session to questions. You can just type in your questions via the chat you see on your screen. So here is a question. Where is ManageEngine in terms of AI and ML? Well, like I said, we've been doing full stack AI for, we actually set our AI labs in as early as in 2014. We started off with some probability theory, and we have started shipping AI features across our products. We have been doing conversational interfaces in endpoint management. We've been doing a lot of correlation and analysis in our SAEM. We have been doing user behavior analysis where your AI automatically adapts to your user's behavior. and a lot of efforts has been gone into site 24/7 or network monitoring solution. I think that is the highest. Site 24/7 carries a highest percentage of AI, and maybe you can take it for a spin since it's a cloud product. So here is the next question. Does your Site 24/7's AI implementation translate into AI ops? Yes, that is right. We are moving there. We are doing a lot of AI ops. So technically, if you look at a monitoring system, there is just going to be three things. One is the anomalies on your monitoring system. It could be a simple time series anomaly, or it could be a combinatorial anomaly. The second thing is you could be predicting outages even before they happens based on the incidents that are happening. And the third thing is an outage has happened. Now you'll have to figure out the root cause of why that particular outage happened. Now there could be a complex relationship across your systems. Let's say you have a caching system that is connected to all of your production servers. Any problem in the caching system could lead to bringing your production servers down. So whenever, but technically these caching systems and the production systems are two different things, right? So it is a very complex thing, but we have been cracking the problems one by one. So we are doing all of these in our Site 24/7 product right now. So the next question is, what sort of AI features will be brought into Service Desk Plus and Desktop Central? That's a very interesting question. So we have been working on, let us talk about Service Desk Plus first. At a Service Desk Plus level, we have been working on a lot of NLP techniques. We have a chatbot platform built on top of it. So you can just start raising asset requests via a chat interface and so on. We are also working with the asset and inventory module. The idea is to improve the productivity of your technicians. For example, let's say I always raise a ticket and it ends up in a particular sysadmin. So now you know this relationship, and you can eliminate the middleman who is going to tag this ticket to that particular person. And let's say you raise an asset request and the laptop has been issued, and I say thank you very much. Now you need not reopen the ticket in this case, right? It could stay closed, but it is just a thank you mail. Whereas I say, hey, the operating system in this laptop is not working, then that is a case where you have to reopen the ticket, and you'll have to change its tag from asset request to an operating system problem, right? So these are certain problems we are working in Service Desk Plus. With the case of Desktop Central, we have done extensive analysis in malware engines. We already have a conversational engine that is out that can help in patch management and endpoint management. So we have also been working on a lot of malware, identifying if a particular system is malware infected and how do you solve that. So there's a lot of work going on there in Desktop Central. Does your AI product have a reporting feature? Okay, the next question is, does your AI product have a reporting feature? Well, I think I could rephrase the question here. Does your reporting feature have an AI feature? So that is interesting, right? So AI is going to be everywhere. It is going to be in your schedulers. It is going to be in your alerts. It's going to be in your reporting. So all our existing reports will have an AI element added to it. We are in the process of it, and we'll make quick resources. So next question is, what is GPU? Yeah, this is an interesting question. So you would have heard about GPUs for high-end games and fancy video processing. Now the world has moved on towards using these GPUs for speeding up your AI. Now think of your AI as a very high graphic intensive game. So a GPU can spawn multiple threads at a time when compared to a CPU. So generally we run GPUs in our data center and in our cloud products where we serve to a lot of requests and there is huge amount of data. But for on-premise solutions, we still stick to the CPU, and we have tuned our algorithms to work with such low computing power. So the next question is, how does ManageEngine's AI-based solutions aid my digital transformation process? Yes, that's a very interesting question. Now, we had a slide where we talked about from process automation to decision automation, right? So it is process automation is so 2018, right? So we have all evolved over the process automation cycle. Now all of our products are like process automation products, and now we are moving towards a decision automation where this AI is going to take your decisions on the behalf. So AI is going to give you a head start for the phase after your digital transformation. So it is actually digital transformation plus. I think we'll take this as the last question. You can anyway I'll email you with the webinar details, and you can ask me more questions over there. So the last question would be, Do you have demo versions of these AI implementations across solutions? Yes, we do have demo versions. We'll be emailing the links to you post this webinar. You can go give it a shot and learn more about what is in store. That is from me. I hope you had a good time. We had a good chat about how to get in AI in your everyday IT process. Thank you very much for attending and hope to see you soon in another webinar. Goodbye.